You're listening to Navigating Eldercare, where you'll find guidance and answers for every step of the eldercare journey. Each week, eldercare advocate Laura Daniels brings you expert insights and practical solutions to help families and professionals make confident care decisions.
Hello, my name is Laura Daniels, founder of Care Advocates and your host for Navigating Elder Care. For years, I have been helping families and medical providers, doctors, case managers, social workers, and nurses find the right solutions for seniors in transition, whether that is after a hospital stay, a rehabilitation stay, or when care needs at home have changed. We assist in finding the right care options. I started this work because I saw how overwhelming and confusing the elder process can be, and I wanted to be a guide and a resource for families and professionals. In my business and in my work at Care Advocates, we walk alongside families every step of the way. We meet with families, clients, and providers to create a customized care plan. When someone is needing care, assistance with activities of daily living, such as bathing, transfers, mobility, we provide options such as residential care homes, assisted living communities, memory care communities. We advocate, guide, and educate throughout the entire process. But most importantly, we provide ongoing solutions and support. The care journey should never feel overwhelming. It should feel guided, supported, and understood. Welcome back to Navigating Elder Care. I am your host, Laura Daniels, and in today's episode, we are going to talk about memory care. And I have Mona Talukdar here with me today.
Hi,
Welcome.
Laura.
Hi, Mona. Mona is a highly respected leader in our senior care space. With more than 12 years of hands-on experience in memory care, she's been recognized multiple times for excellence in dementia and memory care services. She serves on the board of the Alzheimer's Association and was recently chosen by Medicare as one of only 390 participants nationwide for a new guide model. And today she's going to talk about Seasons Memory Care. Mona has multiple of these small memory care communities around San Antonio. Mona, thank you for being here today. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to get started in memory care in these smaller communities.
Long time back. I think my son is 30 years old. I planned in my head for a long time, and finally I built my first memory care in 2012. As a physical therapist, I used to work with a lot of patients with dementia. I used to visit a lot of assisted livings, memory cares. And every time I went there, I felt like, I need to do something better than this. Or I wanted to create an environment where I would create a system in which we would provide the most excellent care and meet every aspect of their care, every aspect of their care in an environment which can be controlled in a way, but also create that where they don't feel like they belong in a institution, but in a house, but be able to provide that care.
Yeah, and that's one thing about your communities. They don't look like what most families imagine, an institution or a hospital setting or a clinical setting. It is very much a home-like environment. Mona, for those who may not be familiar, what exactly is memory care and how does it differ from assisted living?
So memory care is a specialized form of an assisted living that focuses entirely on people living with Alzheimer's or other types of dementia. The difference in the environment the difference lies in the environment, the staffing, the training. Every element, like even from lighting to communication, is intentionally designed for cognitive support. At Seasons, we often say assisted living helps with the body, but in memory care, you support not only the body, but also the mind. Our residents are surrounded by staff that are trained to interact, interpret behaviors, understanding their communication style, and respond with compassion and structure. It's not a problem, but you have to understand what they're trying to say to you. Sometimes they are not able to speak. Sometimes they're not able to tell you in all the words what's going on. If they have a headache, they may be pointing to their stomach, but we have to figure it out exactly what's going on. And that's a kind of a memory care setting in which the staff has to understand their patients very well.
And they're able to do that because of the ongoing training.
Absolutely. You have to do that.
Mona, when do families typically start to realize it may be time to consider a memory care community for their loved one? When is someone ready for memory care?
Honestly, nobody really is ever ready for memory care because usually it is hard to decide when you're going to take your loved one to a memory care center. But when its safety or well-being starts to be compromised, or they're wondering, their medication errors or sleep disruption, families also notice burnout, or they're exhausted from taking care of their dementia loved ones. It's not about the diagnosis, but when they need 24 hours oversight, meaningful engagement, emotional peace. And if the caregiver is tired or if the caregiver burden is high, that's the time to make the decision to move. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy decision to make, but it's a very important decision to make at that time. But recognizing caregiver burden, I think, is the most important factor in when the right time is to move.
And as you know, no one's ever ready, especially the family member, the spouse, the daughter, the son. But what I encourage everyone to do is go and look at a community like yours and tour and just see what that's like.
Exactly.
So when you are ready, you're not making an uneducated guess, a fast decision at a hospital or rehab after a hip fracture or after your mom walked out the front door. You get to go see Seasons with Mona, and you get a tour of what that looks like.
Exactly.
Yes.
That also lots of time changes the family's perspective, because they're not, when they enter, they're like, oh, it's not what I thought it is.
Absolutely.
So,
yes. Mona, what are some of the early warning signs that a person living with dementia may need more support than can be provided at home or in assisted living?
So the common signs include confusion in familiar settings, sudden withdrawal, paranoia, hallucinations, changing in hygiene, either eating habits. Another red flag is when the caregiver feels that they can't step away even for an hour without worrying. Or if their loved one starts wandering outside and they have to be up all night watching them. Or if they get aggressive, or the behaviors get overwhelming, or their sundowning is uncontrollable. That's the time then they have to decide they need a structured environment like a memory care, assisted living, to make sure they can provide the level of care they need.
Because at Seasons Memory Care and Assisted Living, it's not just about memory care, but you bring a lot of services.
Exactly.
Incorporate
Yes.
a lot of services for you to support that resident that's living
yes.
there.
It's very important to have that support services. Without the support services, it's impossible for anyone to manage or do a good job about providing the care.
And by support, we're talking about nurses, palliative care, hospice services.
Absolutely. Hospice, palliative care. Most important, I think, is geropsychiatry, is to make sure the medications are well balanced and managed. That's a very important factor.
Mona, how does a quality memory care program approach daily life differently as far as routines and communication and engagement? What is your care philosophy and approach?
Most important is routine, predictability, and joy. We have to have consistent schedules and personalized engagement care plans. You have to have camp transitions, able to redirect patients, create activities that are kind of meaningful or they used to doing before, like folding towels, baking, gardening, walking outside, doing artwork, listening to music. All those things create an environment that we have to do. We need to create and design every day around what feels familiar rather than clinical, because it's not a nursing home. And also in a regular assisted living, your loved one or the patient has to make independent decisions about what they want or what they cannot do. But in a memory care, the staff has to direct. That the initiation comes from staff. It's time for lunch. It's time for dinner. You're not asking permission, but you're kind of guiding them or nudging them to do activities. It's time for listening to music, or let's go listen to music.
Yes.
So that's the difference between an assisted living and a memory care, and that allows us to create that kind of environment, and we approach the care very differently.
You're anticipating their needs. It's
Absolutely.
not, do you want a glass of water?
Yes.
It's, here's your water.
Here's your water.
And you're very clinical, Mona. That's one of the things that you do well, is care, and you're clinical, but also meeting their social well-being. And
yes.
You do that through...
We have to have a balance between clinical and their caregiver, right? The caregivers have to understand the clinical aspects also. They have to understand the change in behavior, change in status. Why did they not eat food? Do they eat? Why did they not sleep? What's happening with the medication? Do they have a UTI? So there is a clinical aspect to the care, but it's the environment as such is not clinical. It's not institutional, but the care behind has to be highly clinical.
Mona, I want you to share, how is your staff trained to respond to behaviors or changes common with dementia, such as agitation or sundowning? wandering?
Yeah. So the first thing we have to teach our caregivers is empathy. You have to let the staff understand agitation is usually because of fear or an unmet need, and they're not acting out. For sundowning, we have to adjust the lighting, play soft music, encourage calming rituals. We never use one-size-fits-all for response. We can't have a single plan, for each one is very individualized. Everybody's sundowning or the way they respond to behaviors is very different. Every person has a history, and some get triggered by loud music, some get triggered by too many people around the room. So we have to understand what triggers the sundowning behavior. So every staff member has to respond a little differently with every patient of ours.
Mm-hmm. And you do it so well, and I think it's because of your staffing ratio.
Yes, the staffing ratio is such a clue, but also having, the smaller environment, our caregivers have enough time to do all those things.
Mona, we're going to talk about environment and safety now. Tell me, what are some of the environmental features families should look for when they're looking at memory care, and how do you do it differently?
So a lot of people say they handle dementia patients in their building. Unless the facility is dementia and Alzheimer's certified, they're not true memory cares. Only true memory care, licensed memory cares can have secure doors and windows and all. It's secure memory care, which is licensed. There are a lot of other homes, they say they can handle dementia, but they have to be licensed to be a memory care.
And when we're talking about homes, we're talking about residential care homes.
Because they cannot lock their doors. It's a fire safety. Now, what do we need to look at in a memory care? What kind of lights they have, the colors, the secured doors, windows, the kitchen is smelling of coffee or baking, cooking. The environment is quiet and it's not loud and it's not busy. You don't want a busy environment. Mm-hmm. You want that enough space for people to move around and create that environment. Also making it more like home-like. They have lighting like their homes, their decor on the walls, the chandeliers. Those kind of environmental structures can help. The most important in memory care is a secured feature, right? The doors are locked, the windows are locked. That only open during fire. It's not like locked all the time. Your main door to your room cannot be locked either. These are requirement and license requirements by state.
Other important things also to ask, I think, are what fall precautions do you implement? Safety.
Yes. Such as bed alarms, chair alarms. Do they use a Hoyer lift? Do they have a hospital bed? And what kind of railing? We usually use half a railing. Do they have a fall mat? So these are the very important factors in a room. We're not looking at a resident at this moment, but what happens if they fall? Will the facility be able to manage them? What if they're falling? The very common behavior in dementia is your loved one does not understand that they can't get up, because if they get up, they have a risk for fall. They don't understand they're going to fall. And that's when the risk becomes very high for falls. Mm-hmm. What can the facility do to prevent those falls? Is it possible to stop 100% falls? Absolutely not. But what can we do? So we do bed alarms. We have half railing. We use a jerry chair. But doesn't prevent all falls, but it does help in reducing the number of falls.
Absolutely. We know that everyone with dementia will have a decline. Yeah. And you have to think ahead of what will happen when they start needing more assistance,
Absolutely.
Such as a one-person transfer, two-person transfer. Let's talk about family connection and emotional support. How can families stay connected and involved, Mona, once their loved one has moved into memory care?
I always tell the family members this is their second home. They are allowed to come into our facilities any time of the day. We give them the gate codes, and they come and go anytime they want to. And the only request is they lock as they leave. But we also then make them join meals, activities, on daily walks. They can take their loved one out for a lunch and bring them back in. We send them pictures, videos. We have to replace their guilt. The loved one feels of leaving their precious husband or their wife in our facility, but allowing them to come in and spending enough time with them and not having restricted hours, that really helps them. But slowly, the families start trusting the caregivers, and they feel comfortable leaving their loved one there. It's never a foolproof, but when they see the loved one laughing, talking, listening to music, dancing, painting, and being engaged, that changes the perspective.
Yeah. And you and your staff do a great job of assisting families in coping with that emotional transition, because it's very difficult.
Very difficult.
And that's how you build trust with families, when that guilt and hesitation with placing them
Absolutely.
is overwhelming.
Transitioning is never easy. It's a very emotional process. You sometimes have loved one tears, and they're filled with guilt. We encourage families to focus on what their loved one gains from moving into memory care: safety, engagement, consistency. But we also offer support groups and one-on-one conversations to process those feelings. It's never easy to leave their loved one in a memory care. Very, very hard decision.
It is.
It's not the patient itself. It's the caregiver.
And you always say that so well. You say, it's not the resident that moves in that's going to have a difficult time.
It's the caregiver. Yes.
It's because you guys do a great job of moving somebody in, and we can see that after they've been there a few days. Mona, let's talk about engagement and quality of life. What kind of activities or therapies make the most difference in the lives of residents with dementia? What does a day look like at Seasons?
So, as we all know, music plays a huge role in Alzheimer's and dementia. They love music, especially music that they grew up with, or, simple rhymes or simple Christmas songs, Christmas carols. All those little things make a difference. We have pet therapy, we have baking, we have arts and craft, music, going out for walks, talking different things. Yes. And all those small activities make a difference. But again, it's not a school. It's not a school where they have to do one class after another. Sometimes they're engaged, some they want to do it, sometimes they don't want to, sometimes they just want to chill and watch a TV, and that's okay. But our idea is to get them out of their rooms, engage with other people, watch other people be going in and out. Because when you keep them in isolation, the dementia gets worse. So interaction, having sunlight, having daylight, or taking out for walks, even if that means our life enrichment director takes a little time out and spends one-on-one, that's very important, because some of them don't like group activities. So we have to cater to them individually, and we have to do that to keep them engaged.
And that is one misconception. If my mom is not able to walk anymore, they're still out of their room.
Yes,
everyone's
absolutely.
out of their room.
Even if they're in wheelchair, we use jerry chairs in our building. We use a Hoyer lift, so we can lift them out of the bed into the jerry chair. The jerry chair is like a recliner on wheels, and we take them in. It's more comfortable than a wheelchair. We can take them out, enjoy the sunlight, and that really helps in creating them to engage and smile and talk and eat. And being in bed or leaving it isolated in the room is just not the way to do it.
Mona, how do you adapt activities for residents at different stages of their cognitive decline? How do you do that?
So we have to meet each person where they are. Sometimes in early stages, they may enjoy conversation groups, walks, dancing, music. But sometimes as they decline, being in the bed, listening, reading them a story, holding their hands and having a conversation, propping them up out of the bed, getting them out really helps. Again, the engagement is key, right? It's getting them engaged in anything they want to do. When we do the intake, when they move in, our care plan creates a detailed conversation with the caregivers to find out exactly what they like to do. Sometimes it changes. It's not exactly what they want to do, because sometimes they surprise us. And, sometimes they say, they don't like music. They don't want to listen to loud noise. And when we get them out, they're enjoying it.
Absolutely.
So it just changes.
Mona, speaking of medical support, how does your team collaborate with physicians, hospice, palliative care, therapies, or outside providers for comprehensive care at Seasons once a resident moves in?
So behind the scenes, I would say we are very clinical. That means we have labs, visiting physicians, palliative care, hospice. Our building manager is in constant communications with them. Having those resources on our fingertips, because some of them I actually have started them myself. So my staff has clear access to all of these resources behind the scenes. They just have to send a message on their team's message group, and we get what we need for our resident right away. But not having those resources, such as medications, lab pickup, dipsticks, checking UTIs, having physical therapy, family updates have to be given constantly. This becomes an interdisciplinary meeting. And in order to meet their physical needs, their emotional needs, and spiritual needs, that combination really helps us meet our goals.
So the care comes into your community.
Yes,
such
everybody comes to our building.
Primary care medicine, labs, x-rays, checking for UTIs, antibiotics, if you have to treat an infection.
Anything they need, it comes into the building. Dental work, physical therapy, podiatry, everything is in the building.
What role does nutrition, sleep, and movement play in supporting these cognitive changes and decline?
I think nutrition plays a very important role because a lot of the residents with dementia, they don't eat much. So we have to make sure they're well fed. They get high protein. We have staff watching everybody, how they eat, how much they're eating. We watch their intake very carefully, and we assist almost every one of them during their meals. Even if they're independent, standing there, making sure they're eating all of it, drinking all of the water, because a lot of dementia patients don't remember to drink water. They don't remember to eat food. Some of them like finger foods because they don't like the idea of, they forget to take their spoon to the mouth. So you have to assist. Some people like just finger food so they can pick up and food eat it. Some people can't swallow well, so we have to make mechanical soft and puree diets. So nutrition, I think personally, is very important. Next important is your exercise. We have early morning exercise every day. We have do wheelchair exercises. And if they can walk, we take them out for a walk. If they're not able to walk, if they're just in the wheelchairs, then we have some music and do wheelchair exercises. So again, your meals, your exercise, your mental cognition, your emotional support, all are very, very important in it.
And you have the staffing to be able to do that when somebody stops eating. You wait, you either warm up the food, you change it around,
Exactly.
and someone's guiding and assisting.
Yes.
And that could take half an hour to 45 minutes.
Sometimes it takes 45 minutes to just finish a meal, but you have to feed them.
Mona, how do you handle situations when a resident's needs change and require a higher level of care?
We are a facility that handles very high level of care. For us, we don't have to go assess. So every day the changes happen, and every day we have to make a new assessment. Just because they're walking today, if they have the change of status, they may not walk tomorrow. But so we make constant adjustment, constant assessments of them, and then we modify the environment to meet their needs.
So you're able to care for someone that is no longer able to walk, that is a two-person transfer,
Absolutely.
that may require a Hoyer lift, that may have a behavior.
Yes, absolutely. All of those are true.
Let's talk about advice for families, Mona. What's the one piece of advice you would give to someone just starting in their dementia care journey with their loved one?
You have to start learning early. And you don't wait for crisis. You don't make decisions when they fall, or they have a UTI, if they have behaviors. If you don't start early, then you're making decisions in haste. You don't find the right facility or the right a place for them. Then sometimes making decisions in haste, you don't have the time to adjust. You have to build a support network. You go visit communities, talk openly with the family members, caregivers. Early planning really helps bring peace later. Like your services, right? You can offer services way before than anybody else. A family can come to you and say, Laura, I'm not ready right now, but I would like to have a tour. That way they're mentally ready to see what's out there. And you're not having this fear like, what am I going to do in the last minute?
And you and I know, Mona, that 90% of all people wait until a crisis occurs.
And then it's
fracture,
so hard.
A fall, mom walked out the door, and then we're out there looking at communities. Mona, if you could change one perception about memory care, what would that be?
Lots of time they say it's a last resort. It's not. It's a continuation of love in a safer and more supportive environment. When it's done right, it's a rebirth of comfort and connection. So it's never a last resort of memory care. It's just an extension of care in a different environment.
Mona, what do you wish every family knew about the kind of life their loved one can have in a small, caring environment at Seasons with you?
So the smaller settings create deeper relationships and fewer transitions. In a small home, your loved one isn't a room number, they're family. Every day, it ends with sense of belonging. And that connection between the caregiver, the resident, and the family is very important, which lacks sometimes in bigger settings.
Yeah. Mona, I've had the honor of bringing hundreds of families over to you and tours and placements, and you've seen so many residents flourish. Give me that one moment, one story that still makes you think, this is why I do what I do.
Man, there are so many stories. There's so many stories, emotionally supporting loved ones. Every day there's something going on. But there was one time we had moved a lady in. She was wandering all night long. They were exhausted and scared. And once we got into our in our facility, we had Jerry Psych evaluate her, got her meds right, started changing her sleeping patterns slowly. It took some time, but we were there. And then slowly she started taking part in activities, painting, baking, laughing again, and singing songs. And the daughter told me, I got my mom back. I mean, that really made me feel so good. And every time somebody walks by and says, thank you for what you do, really makes my day, because it feels like this 24/7 work which we do behind the scene is all worth it.
Absolutely. And you do a great job. And thank you for joining me on Navigating Elder Care, where we bring guidance and answers for every step of the elder care journey. If you are a family member, hospital case manager, or healthcare provider, and you know someone facing a change in health or planning for a future care need, Care Advocates is here to help you find the right care at the right time, whether it's assisted living, memory care, or bringing trusted community resources into the home. We walk alongside you every step of the way. For a free consultation, call me at 210-669-2222. Be sure to like and share this podcast. If you have any questions, or ideas for future episodes, you can also contact me. You can also listen to past episodes on YouTube or listen on your favorite podcast application. You can also listen to us here every Sunday at 8:30 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. And again, for anyone wanting to reach out to Mona and Seasons Memory Care, her number is 210-584-4238. I am Laura Daniels, and this has been Navigating Elder Care, helping you find the right care at the right time for people that matter the most. Thank you for joining me.
This has been Navigating Elder Care with Laura Daniels, providing guidance and answers for every step of the elder care journey. For a free consultation, call 210-669-2222 or email laura@advocatern.com. Catch every episode on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, YouTube, your favorite podcast app, or at advocatern.com.